So there's a super prevalent idea right now that I'm sure you're all super familiar with if you're on social media, like at all in the last 4 years of The Matrix. Obviously, based off the very famous movie that I am ashamed to admit that I've never seen, right? And this is just the idea that like there's some mystical sort of force that we all gotta escape. It's this weird sort of vapid term used to just refer to like, you're gonna escape the Matrix, you're gonna break out, you're gonna sort of rise above this whole world because the system is made to keep you down, right? It's an interesting idea. And of course, I mean, like, I think everyone on the internet ever now has made fun of this, myself included. As much as I'm sort of about to defend this idea a little bit, I will admit that after the 100th Instagram reel of the guy telling you that he's selling online courses to break out of the Matrix, it's like, okay, like this is a little bit goofy, right? But I've always thought this idea was interesting because it sort of speaks to a very real emotion a lot of people are feeling. And sort of when it comes to people making fun of this thing, as much as I do get it, and like I said, participate in that sort of joking myself, it kind of annoys me at the same time because I think there's this tendency that people do where they kind of focus very hard on like the aesthetics of a thing and disagree with it just based on that, right? Instead of trying to look into it and go like, okay, what could we extrapolate from this? Even if you don't agree with the idea itself, what interesting things can you kind of understand from that? It annoys me a lot because I feel like it's just a sort of closed-mindedness that people have, you know, which again, on the one hand, I get this because like you're scrolling all day and then you sort of start categorizing things naturally. You know what I mean? After you see the 15th guy telling you about the Matrix and he's the same as the last 14 guys, and the last 14 guys were also, you know, misogynistic or being weird or not cool, you know, you're sort of going to categorize this into like, okay, this Matrix idea is really dumb, this is a bad thing. However, I do think that like there's an element of all of us that needs to go, okay, maybe I don't really love the space that this comes from. I mean, I myself have made multiple videos now talking about how I think self-improvement, that whole space is a little bit has grown a little bit bankrupt for sure. I think there's an element of all of us that needs to go like, there are millions upon millions of people. There's a whole side of the internet that sees this idea of a matrix and goes, oh my God, that's true. I'm feeling that. And I am going to now give you money to get out of that. That's like a kind of a powerful thing, I want to say, right? I mean, there's two ways you could go with that. I mean, you could either, which is what a lot of people on the internet do, you could say, okay, these are all there's 10 million dumb people out there. There are 10 million absolute morons who are seeing this and just being fooled, they're being conned, they're being tricked. That's the angle I think a good portion of people take. Maybe that's true. Maybe, I don't know. I think it's at least possible that's true. However, I'm always going to be like, no, I think as much as I think, yeah, like, do I scroll through comment sections on the internet sometimes and go, oh my God, like, we need to, like, people are idiots? Yeah, for sure. I think I do that almost every day. But there's a huge part of me that still wants to believe, like, okay, I don't want to sit here and just dismiss everything and go, okay, all these people are dumb, I'm not going to listen to anything they're saying. So once you get past that, what do you get from this idea? What I personally get from it, and the element, like, I try to, I don't know how to phrase this, like when I come across something like this, I try and look like, what aspect of this do I relate to, and kind of extrapolate from that. And I think the big lesson about this is like, even if the way that these people refer to this whole Matrix thing is really silly and usually to make money, I think that's my biggest issue with this. That's one thing that I'll flat out say is just like bad and dumb about this whole thing, right? Is as much as I do feel that this concept is appealing to a very real emotion and dare I say even sort of important that people are feeling this emotion, I will also say that the way that this is used is almost always just to go like, there's the Matrix, break out, give me $50 a month. And like, it's turned into more of a business model than any sort of real thing, but the idea of it's still prevalent enough that I do want to sort of see how I appeal to it, see how I relate to it rather. And the way that I relate to this more than anything is that I think generationally a lot of us feel that there is sort of like a force that is making things worse. Like, I think a lot of people in this, it's a super prevalent idea, right? That there is 100% a force around us all that is making things way, way worse. And I think that some people, the Matrix is sort of just the way that a lot of people are answering this. But like, we are as a whole generation looking around us going like, okay, like I'm probably not gonna afford a house. Like I'm looking at being in an office for the next 50 years if I'm lucky. Like, if that's the good ending, is that I end up in an office forever, and the bad ending is that like I'm just renting for the rest of my life. Like, you're looking around yourself going, I'm not gonna own anything. And real emotions come from this. I mean, like there's no way they don't, right? Real feelings of like loss and anxiety and sort of like a helplessness do come from this. And people look at it and they go, it's the Matrix. It's the way that the Matrix, this vapid, weird concept, is set up, is making this happen. And that's the answer they come up with. As much as I think this idea of the Matrix is not fleshed out and just a way that people use to make some money usually, it's real. Like, look around at the world around us. There are clearly huge interests from, companies in making just people like work and rent for the rest of their lives. Like, we're going to a period of time where so many of the most like intelligent economists and like these people are going like, no, like people will be renting forever. Like, that's the future, is renting. Like, I saw this thing, oh my God, I'm totally gonna misquote this. Whenever I try and talk about something more academic, I always mess it up on this channel. But like I saw a prediction that like in the next like 50 or so years, like nobody's gonna own anything. Like, that's like bad, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's the first generation coming along where we all kind of understand pretty explicitly, like, okay, we're not going to be owning anything. The American dream that we were pitched doesn't work. And I think, in my opinion, the biggest like failing going on around us is that we're such an individualistic culture where it's causing everyone to just go like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I must be the reason why this is happening. And then it's getting them to come to these like conclusions of, I need to, on an individual level, get out of this by, oftentimes it's selling a course like I've been poking fun at this whole time. Sometimes it's through like real estate grinding or whatever. Like, people, they're coming up with these solutions to this issue that they're all feeling of, like, there is a force around us that's making us not, that's definitely affecting our lives in a negative way, we'll say. And their response to it is on such an individualistic level. I mean, myself included, to be honest. I feel this force, and all I really do is either like, more or less just dread it, or try to like work to make it my own future better. Like, I'm not exactly going out there and taking action on a large scale. And I feel like it's like we're in this conundrum where we have like an uncanny valley of almost progress of like how things are about to go. Because on the one hand, we all feel that there's something wrong, and on the other hand, we're not able to adequately address that something wrong because we've all been conditioned to believe it's our own moral failings. I mean, as much as I do love doing all the things that I do now, as far as like YouTube and I try and have like a couple things I do on the side to make some money outside of this and stuff like that. Like, I enjoy all those things. I started them because when I was in my early teens, I felt like I was like, oh my God, like, I'm too lazy and that's why I won't be making money in the future. To an extent, I think, like, there's definitely an argument to be made that the harder people work, the more they earn over time. I think there's definitely like a good argument to be made there. And I don't know if there's data on it, but like I wouldn't be surprised. I do know a lot of hardworking people, and they do end up doing well. I think there's a real element to that, as much as I think this myth of like we all need to bootstrap our way to the top. I don't like that. I do think the harder you work, the more you'll earn, the better you'll do, the happier you'll be. Like I believe in that in a general sense, right? But this idea that like we're entering a time where we're all going to be much worse off economically or financially or whatever word you want to use, and we're taught to believe that's because we're all too lazy? Like, let's say hypothetically, if all of us start the Instagram course tomorrow and make 10 grand a month, will it be fixed? Will we all be owning more? I mean, obviously, on a realistic level, that just can't happen, right? I mean, the very nature of this is that you need 1,000 people to buy the course in order for that to work, right? But, like, the point is here that, like, clearly this is not just because of individualistic action of, like, we're all just lazy and bad and dumb, and that's why this is happening. There's something bigger going on, and, like, I don't know. I feel like it's sort of, we're all caught in this weird in-between of, like, something's not right, you can't prove what's not right, and you're taught to believe it's that you're not right, but there's something so much bigger going on. We can all tell that, but we don't exactly know what to do about it, and I think that's where this concept's coming from. I think that's where a ton of things are coming from right now. Like, I think that generally, just the very simple fact of, like, we're all not doing quite as well as, or our futures are forecasted to be doing not quite as well as we want them to be, but at the same time, we're not really being given a reason why, other than that, like, the economy's bad. like something's weird about that, right? And then I think, this is a whole weird side tangent, I don't want to get too into this whole thing, but I think there's also a sense of, like, we're being told this, like, ever since we were, I feel like this generation was younger, right? Whether it's very late millennial or early Gen Z, I don't even know what Gen Alpha's doing. I mean, like, probably on an iPad. If you're in Gen Alpha watching this, please click off. I don't think that's, I think you're 4. But, like, it's like this whole generation's just been told, like, something is wrong and bad, and nothing's gonna be as good as it was for your parents, but we're not gonna tell you why. And then there's, like, this surprise that everyone's seeking something extreme or different right now. I think that's really weird. I don't think there should be a surprise there. I think it makes perfect sense that everyone's looking around them and going, how can I fix my own future? And sometimes those answers are, in my opinion, wrong and not good, but I don't think it should be a surprising thing at all. I don't know. I just think that, like, in general, these large trends should not be dismissed. I think we should try and take them. I think we should try and learn from them. I think we should try and say, okay, why are people feeling this, and what can we extrapolate from that, instead of, like, the large temptation that I feel like everyone has to either just, mock it or dismiss it or go, they're dumb. I think we all need to look at that and go, like, where do you relate to that? Because I think we all have the exact same common ground we share on what we're feeling and what we're noticing. We just need to open the bridge and have conversations and be more open-minded. That's just how I feel about that, which is why I try to always do that. I mean, like, if you guys have been watching for a while, I try to, like, narrowly avoid politics, even though sometimes it's, like, kind of there, you know what I mean? Like, in this conversation, especially today, I'm sure you can notice, like, there's, like, hints of something politically you can't help but addressing this. I try to never just be like, okay, guys, this is my solution, this is my political ideology, because I think that's the wrong way of going about it. I think we need to step away from that, because that encourages less conversation and more labeling, and I think we need to step away from the labels and have more conversations about, like, what's the common ground we're all feeling? Where can we all agree to bitch and complain together? And then the rest of it's easy. Once we all know we're bitching and complaining about the same thing, I feel like the rest of it's easy, I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. I know some people will say that that's, I'm entertaining conversations with bad people, or it's it's not good to do that, but I don't know. I think that's just how I feel about it. So sorry this got vaguely political today. This is the painting. I want to try and do like a juxtaposition here of sort of like a really bright thing over here and then just like a dark mess over here. Yeah. It didn't come out, it actually came out exactly how I see it in my head and how I sketched it before this. I try and doodle these paintings before I do them just so I know kind of what I'm going in to do. Some days I don't. When it's a really bad painting, that's how you know I didn't doodle it. I try and just doodle on a sticky note before I do these, but this one came exactly as I doodled it, but it's just bad. So, my bad, y'all. Go check it out over Instagram, see it from multiple angles and all that stuff. There's a lot of texture, so maybe definitely check this one out. And until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Slice. This has been Paint and Talk episode 116. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.